What is up, everybody? I am George Mossey. Say hello to my co host, Cherona, and we have a very special guest. Her name is Michelle G. With Date Better with Michelle G. And you may have seen her on this current season of Darcey and Stacey. She took on the massive task of getting Darcey to date men her own age. And that was something that a lot of people didn't think would ever happen. So that is credited to the matchmaker, Michelle G. And we are going to learn about her and about her matchmaking services and what was that experience like for her? So the first question I want to ask you, let's jump right in. How long have you been a matchmaker?
Thanks, George and Cherona, for having me. It's lovely to be here. Hello, everyone. So I have been a matchmaker now I've had my business for a decade, 10 years, and I've been a matchmaker for 5. I initially started as a date coach. Relationship coaching actually was how my business started, and it just evolved from there into matchmaking.
Great. That sounds like super amazing. That's super cool. Like, when did you realize that you were like a real life Cupid? Because I feel like so many people try to match people together and then it doesn't work. But like, if you're doing that as a business, you're doing something right.
You know what? I think since I was a little girl, since I was really young, I loved rom-coms. I had this obsession with love. And I think what ended up happening, and I'll give you a little bit about my background, is I've always been in some sort of job or something that had to do with building relationships with people. Prior to owning my own business, I actually was a Marine. So I'm a former Marine. I served in the Marine Corps for 13 years. I worked in intelligence. Some people would call us spoofs. Other people would call us spies. But I worked in intelligence. And part of really being able to do that type of work is being able to build relationships with people, to match people together, to get people to be able to say yes to things and influence their decision. Another part of it is also being able to bring people together. I mean, when you're serving and you're in charge of a group of men or a group of women or just co-ed, you're the person in the front, right? And the only way that they're going to really trust you, going to really take you at your word, is if you build that relationship with them. And being a real life Cupid is really about that. It's about building relationships with people, getting to know people, reading them, and really being interested in what it is that is important to them. And I think that my prior career as a Marine really prepared me to jump into this one. And this one kind of came by accident, if I'm honest. I wasn't planning on becoming a matchmaker or opening my own business, honestly.
So I want to know, because we watched you pair Darcey with a guy named Cicero. So I want to know, in your opinion, how many people are in relationships with people that they aren't compatible with? Because you were spending a lot of time opening Darcey's eyes to some habits that she had of types of men that she were bringing into her life that weren't really compatible with what her end goal was. So how many times have you tried to match someone and they were giving you feedback showing that they were always looking for the wrong type of person?
I think not every person that comes to a matchmaking service has that challenge. But what I think is that us in general as individuals really have emotional blind spots. What I like to say, part of my job and my team's job is to be able to be that mirror to help reflect what are those bad habits? What are those emotional blind spots that maybe you're not aware of that are preventing you from really attracting love? I would love for everyone to look at themselves, like who are in relationships or looking for love, is think of yourself as like a frequency. And if anything, like today, we watch TV, we turn on the TV and a picture comes up, right? But we don't really think about what frequency is being sent in order for that picture to happen, right? And what do? We turn the channel. We don't see what we like, so we change the channel. And if we find something we like, the picture's there and we watch it. Well, us as individuals, we are towers, we are vibrations. And so it's our job to look at love and look at what we want to attract in our life in the same way. If you don't like what you're attracting, then you got to change the frequency. But you got to know what frequency you got to be on. And that's part of our jobs, is not only matchmakers, but I pride myself that myself and the team that I work with, we're coaches as well, to help people be able to see, what frequency they're on and what frequency they need to be to get what they want.
That makes a lot of sense. So I know everyone's dying to know this. How challenging was it to work with Darcey to try to get her to date a different kind of man? Someone her own age, someone that's young, that's broke. How did you do it?
Woo. Okay. So I think, let me say this. I think Darcey really has a challenge that a lot of public figures, really high profile individual celebrities have, and that is the internet. Today's world, everything is captured on the internet, and however it's spun, when you go and you Google whatever person you're interested in, there's a plethora of things that come up, and you form an opinion about a person beforehand. And that was one of the biggest challenges that we had as a matchmaking team to match Darcey, because there's great things about what she's doing out there, and there's also things that are not so great about her out there, right? And so it was our job to really be able to filter that and really present her in her authentic self as genuine as possible. And also just that, listen, regardless of what's out there, she is this really amazing, really sweet, down to earth person, right? Like, when you look past all the glam, when you look past the cameras, she's down to earth. She's a very sweet person. She's personable. You can sit down and have a glass of wine with her and she'll talk to you. You know what I mean? And that was our biggest challenge. And in terms of helping her be more open, that was one of the questions. And I wish that they really would have showed a little bit more of our initial interview. Was we had a very honest conversation. And I did ask her, like, are you sure you're ready for this? Like, because I'm not going to give you exactly, what you're used to. I'm going to push you to go and experience something really different. And one of the biggest things that I wanted to stress to her is, when we introduce you to this gentleman, our job at that point, we take a step back, because now it's up to you to keep that going. I'm there to support you as your coach, but it's really your job. Like, I can't date for you, right? The rest goes into your hand. And so at first, she was like, well, that's why I'm here. I'm here because I want to date differently. And I said, okay, are you ready? Because I'm going to push you. I'm going to push you a little bit. I'm going to give you some tough love, but know that I'm coming from a place of, I really want you to be successful. I really want you to have a different experience. I want you to know your worth and that you can do so much better.
Okay, so has there been a time where you were unable to get someone to make the changes needed? Because we watched you go to Darcey's house and you wanted to change the way she dressed and how she presented herself. And was there a time where people gave you like a hard time about changing those habits, even though you knew and you explained to them how it would positively impact the person they attracted? Were they just too stuck in their ways to make that happen and you couldn't match them?
Listen, so that's one of the first things, that when we are going to be working with someone, we do our due diligence and do a little bit of research first, right? Because we want to know who it is that we're going to be working with and kind of get a sense of what's out there, what information is out there about them. Secondly, is they have to be coachable. If a person is not coachable, and I get that sense from the beginning, or my team gets that sense, then we politely won't work with someone who's not coachable. Now, we know that we're going to get resistance in that, right? Absolutely. There's always resistance. Humans don't like change as much as we say, like, it is what it is, but humans don't like change. The most important thing is, when we're matching someone and I come across someone who's like that, then, it has happened where maybe we've had to end the relationship early. And it's sad, because that person could have gone the long road, right? They really could have found their person, or they really could have had that transformation. But I think that sometimes we do get stuck in our own way, and it's happened, it's happened to everyone. And the best way that we deal with that is, I think it's just at that point to say, listen, if you're not ready to make that change, then there's nothing else I can do for you at that point, right? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make a horse drink the water.
Yeah, I see that. So basically, you can only push them so far. Because like you said, with Darcey, you said, I'm going to match you and then I'm going to step back, and you have to make those changes. So in order for your process to work, it's not so much your process, it's them adopting your process into their life and their dating style. So I totally get that.
Okay, so question. Have you ever had to set your friends up? Because I know your friends come to you all the time, and does it go good or bad? Or how does that work? Because I know people are probably asking you all the time to set them up.
Oh my God. That's a great question, Cherona. So you know what? Here's the thing. Anytime I meet people or friends of friends and they're like, what do you do? I'm like, I'm a matchmaker. I'm a dating coach. I run this company. And they're like, oh my God, let me tell you about my online dating profile and this guy and right? So I have set my friends up. I've had set friends of friends up, but it's kind of like, how maybe George could say to you, hey, Cherona, I think that, I don't think that maybe background is as flattering. I think you need something with a little more pop-up color. And you're like, no, it's fine. And then comes someone randomly and it's like, oh my gosh, Cherona, I really think you should try this instead. And you probably will listen to that person for more, even though George just finished telling you. Trust me, I have the same experiences with my friends. I love them, but it's human nature.
True.
So I'm wondering, because we saw you had requested some photos from Darcey and you kind of started your process of collecting information before you met her. So when you meet a new client, are there like a red flag list that you already have before they get to your office? Because you are very good at gathering information and learning about people even before the process starts. So how does that work? Do you start kind of interviewing them before you meet? Does it start like online through an email, through an application form? Like, how does that begin?
Yeah, so it starts with the initial like 15-minute call, and I like to call it. It's kind of like the first match call, right? It really does have to be that this person. I want to know a little bit about them. I want to know what their goals are, and I want to know what it is that they're looking for. And I'm also at that time really trying to get a sense for how will our personalities mesh. As many people, depending what thread you're looking at, right? I'm not everyone's cup of tea. Some people may disagree with how I am, and I don't, and it's okay. I'm not meant to be everyone's cup of tea. So I like to have those calls to be able to get a sense. And if I feel that we vibe really well together, then we proceed through, yes, then it's like informal, like coming into the office, we sit, I get to know you. Some of the red flags that I'm looking for, number one, is that person being honest with me? Okay, because honesty is really important. In order for this to work, it's really important that they're honest with me, even if it could be something as like, I don't like that you said that to me, Michelle. I need that type of honesty from the client because that only builds our connection stronger. Secondly, are they coachable? Are they willing to listen to me? Are they willing to try new things? Are they willing to do homework? Believe it or not, I did give some Darcey homework after our first intake, right? So she got to do a little bit of homework, have her reflect a little bit more on her relationships and what were the things that she really appreciated and what were the things that she didn't. And then us being able to come to the table and then design a plan for her and design the type of match that I thought would be the best for her. Number three, is that person struggle, or do they have the ability to be vulnerable? Part of dating, and it's a journey of discovering yourself, not only to find love, but you're really also learning about yourself in the dating process. And it's important to know how to be vulnerable, right? And along with that goes boundaries. How are your boundaries? Do you understand what boundaries are? Do you know your own boundaries? Do you need some help setting boundaries? Because all those things combined will allow the process for it to really work, will allow you to open up and really have an experience and find your person. I want to tell you something funny. Do you know that this is research, most marriages or relationships that last for the long term, typically, they did a study on this, typically the first time that they met their person, they weren't attracted to them. That first and second date, they weren't like, oh my God, like I feel the butterflies. No, they actually weren't like that, because what research tells us is that what is the success of a relationship is really friendship. If you're able to build that friendship, you can fall in love with someone. You can fall in love with the personality, everything they have to offer you. And it's not that you're not physically attracted, but I think sometimes we get so focused on, I need to feel like this heartthrob, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you feel something, why not? It's like a spark. Just the spark doesn't have to be big. It could just be a little chispa, and that can turn into something bigger.
All right, we have run out of time. We're going to come back with part 2 because I have a million more questions to ask Michelle G about this most insane dating process and how she has been so successful at matching these people together and the relationships are lasting. I'm George Mossey. This is my co-host, Cherona. We'll be back with Michelle G very soon. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at George Mossey, georgemossey.com, and anywhere you get your podcast. We'll talk to you guys really soon.